Welcome into Cleveland Browns Daily live from the Greenbrier in White Sulphur Springs, West Virginia. The Browns looking forward to training camp day number 5. Nathan Zagura alongside the voice of your Cleveland Browns, Jim Donovan. And Jim, Mother Nature not cooperating.
Yeah, rain, and a lot of rain this morning. And so we had a rain delay.
We had a rain delay.
We have a nice picture right now, though. We're in a nice window of weather.
It is looking good, and our weatherman Gibbe says it should stay good for a while. Is that true, Gibbe?
Seems to be changing. After 3 o'clock.
In a good way or a bad way?
No, not in a good way.
Oh, well, 3 o'clock, that's they're going to be out in the field, hopefully, at 3 o'clock.
Hopefully it'll be fine. Yeah, maybe they need to
Who knows
to
right
speed
now.
this up. So yesterday, practice was supposed to be every day was going to be kind of around 10:45-ish. Yesterday, due to the weather, it moved up to 8:45. Today, due to the weather, it has been moved back to 2:30. Now, yesterday was the first day in pads. We've talked about how it was kind of a light day. Today will be in shells. They will have kind of a walkthrough and team-building exercise tomorrow and meetings. And then Thursday is the big day, slated for pads.
Right.
That should be the big one. Friday, they'll practice in the morning, and they will fly home Friday afternoon. These are our hot topics of the day, presented by University Hospitals, official healthcare partner of your Cleveland Browns. And I saw Kevin Stefanski, the Browns head coach, in the hall, and I said, Mother Nature's not cooperating. He said, it's good. We need to be adaptable.
Yeah.
Things don't always go according to plan in the National Football
They
League.
take everything that comes their way, and they kind of turn it into a lesson.
Yes.
You know, we'll make the best out of this, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Got to turn some lemons
Into
into
lemonade. Right,
That's
yeah.
exactly
Lemonade,
right.
yeah.
And so last time we did a show was after kind of that light practice. Today we had hoped to have a new practice for you to break down and dissect, but we will not. We will have Training Camp Insider that you can get on the Browns YouTube channel and all of the Browns platforms. We did that yesterday as well and kind of take you in, and we'll do that after today's practice, and we'll talk with Amari Cooper, which will be exciting.
You know what? It will be, and it is. And, you know, he is a fascinating guy. He's a really cerebral guy, don't you think? He really thinks and images the game.
So I love the way that you say that, and he is I've said it before, and I don't know if I've ever said it to you, but he approaches the game in a very similar way to Joe Thomas.
I think
In
you're right.
terms
Yes,
of
that's a very
the
good,
preparation, the film study, the notes that he takes, the fact that he will watch if he's going coming up to a game and it's a corner that he's played against before or corners, he will go back and watch every route that he ever ran against that corner at any point in his career to see if he's shown any tendencies and then what could be a tendency breaker. And you know, Amari Cooper's a guy that loves to have a little bit of a freedom in the way that he runs his routes because that allows him to use his knowledge and his preparation to perhaps set up a cornerback so that his moves are more effective.
Yeah, he talks about flexibility and the ability to have that in this offense. But the other thing, it's so different to hear him because wide receivers around the NFL can be real characters. We've had a few here.
Yes, we have.
Through the years. He is not like that at all.
No.
And has every right to be like that, but thank God he's not like that. I mean, you know, like I said, he is a real professor. I'm not even going to say a student of the game, but a real professor of
Absolutely.
the game. And his teammates think that way.
Yeah, and he's a guy, you know, we talked about, he's kind of the Nick Chubb of wide receivers, to your point, all business focus and approaches it like the Hoff, and that's why he's been so successful. When you've been in the league this long and you are a premier player for this long, it's a combination of incredible talent, but also an incredible ability to, number one, have the work ethic, but number two, to utilize that work to constantly be evolving and honing your craft.
He really likes practicing.
Loves it.
Yeah, he loves practice, which is really something, and he practices all the time.
I did love that, you know, so much was made, well, he might hold out. We can't have him. He's like, I'm not hold. He's like, I need to practice for myself. Forget that. I would have been here for training camp regardless, but we know that it's good they got that done. And, you know, we've got a chance to talk to Andrew Berry while we've been here. We got a chance to talk to him as well. And we're going to have that interview with Andrew Berry later on today in our program at around 2 o'clock. We'll talk with the Browns general manager here on Cleveland Browns Daily. You're also going to hear from head coach Kevin Stefanski in just a little bit from earlier this morning. So this will be the latest updates that we've got from him. Also, Mike Vrabel at the podium, which will be a lot of fun. That's from earlier today. And, boy, he's been great. He is really – and he is having an absolute blast. I don't know. If you were to rank everybody in this organization who's having the best time at the Greenbrier, it is possible that Mike Vrabel would be number one on that list.
I think you're right about that, and he's very open about what his plans are. Does he want to coach again? You bet he does.
Yes.
Does somebody want him? I think
They
in
should.
time. I think in time they definitely will. So I look forward to that, and just having him around, you really root for him. And
You do.
Kevin goes on and says, you know what, maybe the NFC would be good
Yes.
if he goes over there
I agree.
rather than the AFC. But I think all of us would say, just because we watch him and have gotten now a chance to be up close to him, I think, you say, hey, go get him. He deserves to be a head coach.
Of course.
Maybe he should be run right now.
He absolutely,
Yeah.
he absolutely should be one right now. And this is a guy who grew up eating dog bones in middle school, and now getting the opportunity here to be with the Cleveland Browns. So that's pretty cool. So you're going to hear from those basically some real luminaries, your head coach, your GM, as well as kind of the special counselor or consultant to the head coach, to the GM, and to ownership. So that's pretty exciting.
And Nathan, the thing when we talk to Andrew Berry, the thing that is amazing is how really organized the whole program is.
Oh, yeah.
Not just what's going on here, but, there's a whole other 2 or 3 levels that have to be going on, and you have to really hit the ground running.
Right.
And you can't fall behind in the NFL. You fall behind in the NFL, you got a big problem. You're not in the NFL.
Yeah, exactly. They call
Not
it
for long.
Not for
right?
long.
Not for
Exactly.
long.
The NFL.
Jerry Glanville.
Yes. You're right, because, and I don't know how much people realize this, but it's continually a 3-pronged approach to scouting at any point in this offseason.
Right.
So you have your self-scouting. You're evaluating your team. You're thinking about how we get from 90 to 53. What's this roster going to look like? All of those things. Concurrent with that, you've got your college scouts all out over the country, meeting with coaches, meeting with players, collecting information to get ready for the 2025 draft when the Browns will
have a first round.
Oh, baby. That's right. And I know they're very excited about that. And then you also have the pro scouting side of it, which is scouting other teams. And a long, long time ago, and I'm sure it has been very evolved since then, but back in 2014 when I got to dabble a little bit in this, it was kind of saying, okay, here's our roster. Here's where we know we have an abundance of talent, so that's potential. We're going to look around the league for maybe potential trade partners.
Right.
Here is where we know we might not necessarily be set. We might want to look at some people. All right, let's find the teams around the league that have an abundance at those positions, and we're really going to scout those players in the preseason and try to assess who might be a good fit for us. And they've done a very good job of that. And last year in particular, Dustin Hopkins, Khalif Halasi comes on board, and you get the trade for Pierre Strong. So that's part of it. That's all of those things are going on simultaneously and somehow working together.
I mean, if something happened, an injury that would really hurt you, and we don't want that to happen, but if it did happen, and it's happening all around the NFL, they have to be ready right away. They have a go list.
Yes.
Where are we going on that? The other thing that he'll point out is that the other area that's going on right now, they take a look at contracts.
Yep.
What's going on contractually with their team? Do they want to do some business right now? Where are they?
Yeah, and they got some flexibility with the Amari Cooper or the way that restructuring happened with Amari Cooper. They were able to save about $14 million on this year's salary cap, and that's money that can be used if an opportunity presents itself, or can be rolled over into next year. And I don't know if you saw Jerry Jones today kind of hinting that the lawsuit about Sunday NFL Ticket could have a profound impact on slowing the acceleration of the salary cap over the next few years.
Well, that was a hefty number that came down against the NFL.
And I know that will be appealed, and we'll see where it ultimately ends up. But that's something that could play a factor in these things.
Those lawyers are going, wow, all right, we got a couple of appeals here.
We got some billable hours coming our way.
We're going to make some moolah on the NFL.
That's right. So that's an interesting thing, and I'm sure that's something that the Browns are planning for. They've done a very good job of anticipating the salary cap and structuring their contracts so that bigger hits come as the cap accelerates. And so from a percentage standpoint, it's not as bad as it may appear on paper. And so I guarantee they've got models. Well, what if the salary cap goes flat? What if it goes down a little bit? What if it doesn't accelerate at the pace that it has been recently? they've got to be prepared for that. So there's so much that goes into the puzzle pieces of the team from a skill set standpoint, from a health standpoint, from a personality standpoint, from a contract standpoint, and you've got some decisions coming up here as well. Think about Jed Wills in the last year of his rookie contract. You've got Amari's in the last year of his contract with the Cleveland Browns. Elijah Moore in the last year of his rookie contract that the Browns picked up in that trade a year ago. JOK in the last year of his rookie deal. So there are a lot of things that are going to have to be done.
JOK.
Isn't that wild?
Oh, yeah, second-round draft choice, right? Yeah. The other thing is, though, that when we talk to the coach, Andrew Berry, and really anybody else, we really want those tackles to get healthy and get out there. And I think if there is one position right now that they have to take a look at and hope that they get those guys back ASAP, healthy, though, it would be the tackles.
Yeah, and it's not only getting him back. It's DeJuan, I think you feel very, very good about, right? DeJuan Jones played so well for you last year. It's the tackles coming back healthy, and then in the case of a guy like a Jed Wills, it's seeing him consistently match the potential he's shown at times. I went through today getting ready for the season, and last year he was in only 8 games due to that MCL injury, has the surgery, so now he's trying to come back, entering his 5th season, but in 8 games last year, he allowed 3 sacks and 29 pressures. And if he had played all 17 games, he would have led the Cleveland Browns in pressures allowed by more than 20. And he had some real big missed blocks, especially early in the season.
Right.
One leads to the Jack Conklin injury. Another leads to that sack strip fumble touchdown that really cost the Browns the game in Pittsburgh. He was on pace for 12 penalties, which would have been 3rd among all tackles. And last year on Pro Football Focus, he ranked 68th out of 85 tackles and overall grade 64th in pass blocking, 72nd in pass blocking efficiency, 63rd in run blocking. That's not good enough. He has got to be a better player than that for the Cleveland Browns.
When do you think he really did play well? Rookie year?
I thought he played very well.
Was good, yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was probably his best, but then gets injured a little bit late that season. But
I thought he had a slow start to year 2.
Definitely.
And then it has kind of accelerated, maybe the wrong way.
He was better in 2022. He was actually significantly better than he was, last year, but still. To give context in kind of an apples-to-apples Pro Football Focus standpoint, he was the number 44 tackle last year, 37 as a pass blocker. So that puts him, there are 64 starting tackles in the league. So that puts him right there. But he did give up 41 pressures a year ago, 6 sacks, and 10 penalties. It's the consistency. The flashes are there, and we've talked about it for Jed Wills. This is a monstrous season for him. It's a monstrous season, not just for his Cleveland Browns future, but for his NFL future and his financial future.
Yeah.
I mean, if he is not as motivated as humanly possible this year, he's never going to be.
Right.
There's a lot at stake.
I mean, very, very high draft pick. Very
10th
high.
overall.
10th overall in a very, very rich tackle draft, as I remember. Came in, and I thought he was, the right fit. The move from right tackle over to left tackle, he handled it very, very well. But there has also been a question about motivation. Is he motivated enough? Does he come all the time, and really give them his best? Is he as interested as he needs to be sometimes?
Yeah, that's one of the things, Joe Thomas will say about Jed Wills. He's got more talent, more physical gifts than I ever had.
It must drive a guy like Joe crazy to see a guy like that with all that talent.
Yes. I don't know, crazy, but I think in some part it's envy, but it's another part it's like, come on, man. You have the ability to do very, very special things here.
Hit the button.
You'd like to see him do it. Yeah. But tackle was a big problem for the Cleveland Browns. You were down to Jaron Christian in a playoff game. You were down to James Hudson and getting Jed Wills back, getting Jack Conklin back. Even the notion – in my mind, and this is not based on, these are not scores. This is not based on anybody talking to me. I just can't possibly imagine it being any different. DeJuan Jones to me is the one guy we know needs to start at tackle. Now, whether that ultimately is left or right, I guess could remain to be seen. We've only seen him at right tackle thus far, and we talked about that. If we don't see him at left tackle, prior to the start of the season, he's not playing left tackle. But to me, he needs to start. And so it's likely to be Wills and DeJuan Jones, I would think, at the end of the day. But to have Jack Conklin be your safety net that puts us in a much better position than we've really been in before.
Yeah, I really love Jones at the right tackle.
So do I.
I mean, I thought he won all the time. He won all the time. From the moment he went in on the opening game against the Bengals, it was amazing. It really was to watch how he started his career here in Cleveland with the Browns. in his first, rookie mini camp and how he really came along in a short period of time. That was pretty amazing.
We weren't even sure if he could finish a minicamp practice when it
right.
started.
Yeah. With
Literally.
with Bill Callahan.
Yeah, and then he turned it. I mean, he gets first start of his career Monday Night Football against T.J. Watt, holds him without a sack, holds Nick Bosa without a sack, doesn't even let them get near the quarterback.
Right.
I mean, he is a special player, and I think when we look at this roster, and part of the reason that it's able to be where it is you have to think in the years that we did not have a first-round pick, and so far there have been 2 of them. The fact that they got M.J. Emerson, who would be a first-round pick for sure if that draft were drafted again, and DeJuan Jones, who would be a first-round pick and probably top 10 were that draft redone, is pretty incredible. And you hope that obviously they can have that kind of success this year, and Mike Hall Jr. becomes the kind of guy that in a few years we say, you know what, he would have been a first-round pick as well.
Yeah, I think you're right. And, you lament that you're not in round number 1, but look at what you did end up with. Yep. You've ended up with guys who are out on the field playing – and playing very well at a very, very high level.
Playing at a very high level. And that's kind of what you think about, too, when you think about this Cleveland Browns team is what would this roster look like had you been – it's additive that you got a bonus first-rounder in M.J. Emerson, a bonus first-rounder, in DeJuan Jones. But it all comes down to the quarterback, and we've talked about that. We all know that to be the case. And if the quarterback, Deshaun Watson, this year is what we think he can be, then nobody's going to be worrying about those types of things.
I think people are planning their draft parties already around Cleveland, okay? Because we're back in round 1.
Yeah.
I really do. I mean, that's a long night when you're, if you're not in it. It's a very, very long night and a long wait then into the second night to get going. So I think, the draft has become everybody wants to be a part of it. So if you are a part of it, I think it's great, and we're back in it.
Absolutely. And
I don't know where we're going to be. Hopefully down.
32nd is where 32nd is the goal. That's certainly where this team wants to be when it is all said and done. All right. No practice yet today if you're just joining us. The rain really rolled through the Greenbrier for the second consecutive day. We've had guys out here squeegeeing. We got Bubba Ventrone running wind sprints
behind us. They will be practicing on the grass behind us.
Well, they had a team of guys out there with squeegees really doing some work. It feels like kind of the 30 to 20 on this field is where water collected. Well, they've squeegeed all of that water off, and they're good to go. Bubba Ventrone running up and down the fields, and he looks good. The traction looks good for him. Well, it looks good from there. All right, we're going to hear from head coach Kevin Stefanski next here on Cleveland Browns Daily. He will be breaking down exactly kind of what's transpired, the decision-making process, how they've gotten to everything here as we get ready for training camp day number 5 from the Greenbrier on 850 ESPN Cleveland. All right, welcome back to Cleveland Browns Daily, live from the Greenbrier in White Sulphur Springs, West Virginia. Jim Donovan, the voice of the Cleveland Browns, alongside yours truly, Nathan Zagura. And we want to invite you to be part of one of the most passionate fan bases in the NFL. Join Next Gen STM, presented by Ticketmaster, the official wait list of the Cleveland Browns. Being a Next Gen STM is the best chance to become a season ticket member in future seasons. Visit clevelandbrowns.com/NextGenSTM to reserve your spot today. All right, Jim.
Yeah.
Madden ratings are out. Christian McCaffrey, the cover athlete,
Wow.
he is a 99 at running back. Number 2 at the running back position with a rating of 96. Nicholas Jamal
wow.
Chubb.
All right. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
So
all
Madden,
right.
Madden still recognize it.
A
and
great
certainly
running
respect.
back. Yeah,
Absolutely.
a great running back.
So
Wow.
there he is. 96 second, and boy, we can't wait to see him back on the field this year with the Cleveland Browns. I know you can. Chubba Wubba Hub, we got to unleash one of those.
I cannot wait. Boy, I mean, gosh, I think that will be electric.
I think it will be.
I think it should be at home.
I would like it to be at home. Hold on, let me take a look here at the schedule here real quickly, and we can kind of see where we think.
How about the Steelers when they come?
Oh, man. Listen, big returns against the Steelers at home have led to great success.
Yeah.
You know that very, very
right.
well.
Right.
Let's see. We got
I'm thinking Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh?
Yeah.
Okay, I like that.
You know, the team that it happened against.
That would be. Oh,
you know,
man,
and then
yeah.
you come back and you come back home. And wow.
All right, look at there. There we are talking. Have us up on the app for a second there. All right, so home games, week 3. If we're being ambitious,
Yeah.
week 1 the Cowboys, week 3 the Giants, week 7 the Bengals, October the 20th. That could be a good one.
Okay.
Sunday, October 27th, the Ravens. November the 3rd, the Chargers. The only problem I think with the Steelers, we'd have to wait all the way till November 21st. I don't know if we want to wait that long.
Okay. Yeah.
No.
Oh, okay.
How about the Bengals? Week 7, coming home.
I'm in.
Stretch of division games. Yeah,
I'm in.
I would be in for that. You know who else would be excited about that? That'd be Browns head coach Kevin Stefanski. He is from the podium from earlier today, presented by Vivid Seats, official fan experience partner of the Cleveland Browns. Take a listen.
So we're going to move
You're down.
a little bit. We were hoping to get lucky with those clouds back there, but as you can see, we're not going to get lucky. So we'll move the walkthrough up. So we'll do the walkthrough this morning. And then plan is to practice around 2:30 this afternoon. So keep you guys posted on that. Questions? Weather-related questions? Fire away. Yes. Yes. Yeah.
At the end of last year, Jim talked about the next step for Jeremiah maybe being on the field 100% of the time. Do you see him progressing toward that? And if so, could he be a call the plays kind of guy?
I do. Yeah, I think Jeremiah now, and as he gets older, becomes a veteran, better understanding of what we do, more comfortable out there, calling the defense if we need him to. We can signal the defense from the sideline as well. So certainly you want to keep your best players on the field as much as possible, and that's up to Jeremiah in a lot of ways to be comfortable in those roles.
Kevin, what have you seen from Michael Woods after a year away?
Continues to do a nice job. As we get going into these practices, I think you'll see more and more reps where he's kind of showing what he does. I think he's a really good separator versus man in particular, catches the ball well, has a good understanding of what we're doing.
What do you want to see out of Grant Delpit this season?
Just continue to come on. I think everybody saw what Grant was able to how he was able to play in our system, the physicality that he brings to what we do, has great ball skills, taking on, as he becomes a veteran in this league, takes on more of a leadership role, is in a really good room with some guys that understand what it takes to play ball, and Grant's right there at the top of it.
How much does Jim's system sort of help unlock some of the potential that Grant has?
Yeah, kind of goes back to what I think we talked yesterday about tight ends. Versatility is key in football, and certainly safeties. You've seen safeties that can play down on the line of scrimmage, can play in the post, can play a half field, can play at the linebacker level. You can blitz them. So I see safety similarly with versatility. It allows the coordinator to do a bunch of different things.
Yesterday we talked to David and Andrew about Mike Vrabel's kind of ever-changing role.
Yeah.
I was curious from your perspective, like, what does that look like? He's kind of in the building. Like, is he in a specific position room, or is he like?
We have Vrabes really focusing with the offense. I mean, Vrabes, we're having him do a bunch of different things, and I know you guys are going to talk to him, and he can kind of tell you what he's doing, but helps me a ton in all the head coaching areas. I can bounce things off of him, helps our personnel group because he's got a very good eye for personnel. And then I just think it's valuable to have a former defensive player, former defensive coach in the offensive meeting. So Vrabel is in there with us on offense, going, kind of giving that perspective from a defensive side, and then in particular working with the tight ends when we get to an individual perspective.
In addition to that, I know that Andrew said that you guys were on committee together. What did maybe you learn about him, personality-wise, over the past couple months?
Yeah, Coach Vrabel is somebody, we've talked about this. We've gotten to know each other pretty well over the years, but never, when you're opposing teams in the same conference, you got to be careful with sharing too much information. So we've talked a lot about different Catholic school gyms in Northeast Ohio, but that transitioned into more actual football discussions now that he's wearing Browns gear.
What's it like having
an assignment?
Yeah.
Do you tell him you're on tight ends, or does he say it like that?
Ask what Coach Vrabel says. He talks about the org chart a lot. So we'll find out who his direct report is.
Kevin, obviously there's uncertainty at running back, but what are the ways that Deontay Foreman could help you on offense?
Yeah, has played really good football in his career. Runs hard, as you see, just turning the tape. Is a physical runner, can catch the ball out of the backfield. So I do think he brings an element to this room and see how it all shakes out. But certainly is a veteran that you can turn on the tape and see what he's been able to do.
Kevin, with the safety room, what stands out about that room to you that the veterans you have in that space in the way that Ephraim's able to really
It's a very good group. Like you mentioned, Ephraim does a great job with those guys, but I really like that you have some older players, some veterans, some young guys. You have guys that can do a variety of different things on the job. So, but it's a really, really cerebral group.
How much does the energy change when you're going through drills, when you have guys like Graves and Bubba getting right in the middle of those drills and actively participating?
Yeah, I think that's part of coaching. I think that's part of good coaching is being an active participant, showing the guys the drills that you're going to be taking part in. There's a bunch of different ways to do it. There's a bunch of different styles, but I do think active coaching is really beneficial to the players. I don't know. As long as Vrabel stays upright, I don't think we're putting them on the clock though. Yeah, it's just a little rain. I mean, honestly, it's like I mentioned yesterday, Mary Kay. It's easy for us as coaches. We just got to go to the next meeting. We don't have to be so responsible for setting up this field and setting up the videos. So our group does a great job. You can't predict the weather. As I found out, I mentioned as a young coach, I was the weather coach for Brad Childress back in the day. That is a very thankless job. You have no idea. Yesterday we had walkthrough. It looked like it was going to rain, and it didn't rain at all. So you just got to roll with the punches and know that you can't predict it.
Where is the walkthrough?
We'll just go inside for a walkthrough. Yeah, it'll be just move some tables out of the way and do a walkthrough inside.
Is it when you have to go one field on dirt just at 2 on grass? Do you have to cut back on stuff you do?
No, shouldn't. And a lot of things you're taking into account here is we want to make sure when we go on these fields that they're safe. So I want to give it enough time where Scott Springer and our grounds crew can get to work on those fields. But yeah, just got to be able to adjust.
All right.
The weather coach.
The weather coach.
Yeah.
In the midst of weather. I mean, goodness gracious.
I was
you
in
could hear
there,
that
and
thunder.
I was in there, and it was like I don't know, who was the guy playing in Caddyshack? Your Eminence?
Yes,
I don't think
the
the heavy
Bishop.
stuff has come in. The Bishop, yeah. Who would deny
No.
me my greatest round in my life? It was like that.
I don't
was
think the heavy
really
stuff's
coming
down for hours. That's exactly right.
Hey,
Bishop
Deontay,
Pickering.
he talked about Deontay Foreman.
I like Deontay Foreman.
Yeah, how big a role? With Chubb not being ready, and at the beginning of the year, how big a role do you think Foreman is?
I think substantial, and we were up there avoiding the weather earlier, and I got a chance to talk with Browns running back coach Deuce Staley, and he is a big fan of Deontay Foreman's. I think that you imagine the role Kareem Hunt played last year, but you have somebody who's a little bit younger, a little bit more explosive, a guy who in his career, when he's been given 19 carries in a game, and that's happened 11 times, he's run for 100 yards in 7 of them, over 80 in 9 of them. So he can be a bell cow. I think that that's what you're looking at. He is going to be the power back. I think he could have an opportunity to play a lot. I think he'll be the guy in the fourth quarter that's kind of the closer, and then you'll mix in Pierre Strong, and you'll mix in, obviously, Jerome Ford. I'm not suggesting he's the number one out of that group, but I do think he will play a valuable role, and I do think he will be the guy that, from those three, probably leads the group in rushing touchdowns.
He would become maybe the goal line back.
That's what I think.
Yeah, Kareem's
Kareem's
year,
role.
Yeah,
Listen, he's wearing 27. It's kind
yeah,
of
same
kind
number,
of
everybody. Right, no
a
doubt.
Smooth transition there, but yeah, that's kind of where I see the role, and I think it'll be interesting when we actually get into some game situations. I'm going to be very curious with the joint practices. What it looks like, because that's where you're really trying to see where you stand. I was talking to somebody in the organization, and they said, 2 years ago when Philly came to Cleveland,
I thought that was eye-opening.
In not a great way.
Not a good way. Yeah, I think
and we're not necessarily ready, and they are.
And they are ready.
And they went to the Super Bowl that year. And then last year, we went there and more than held our own with them, and certainly looked absolutely every bit like we belonged on the field with them. And obviously, both teams went to the playoffs. So Minnesota's a team that I would say on paper, we need to be the bullies. We need to do what Philly did to us a couple of years ago in those joint practices. But that's where I think we'll maybe get a little bit more of a sense of the roles that people are going to have. For example, you'll see some team short yardage situations. Is that Deontay Foreman getting the bulk of the work there? And that's where we'll have, I think, a better idea. But he's a better pass catcher than I think people realize out of the backfield, and certainly is that kind of a power runner that will be very effective in this offense, especially as we talked about, against lighter boxes.
Yeah. Another name mentioned there was Michael Woods. Michael Woods has been around, and they like Michael Woods if he can stay healthy, right? I mean, Michael Woods has always intrigued them. And, of course, they drafted him, so here you go.
Yeah, 6th rounder out of Oklahoma. Made some catches his rookie season. I think he had 5 catches for 45 yards that year. He's got some size to him. He got some ability. He was very productive in college at Oklahoma. I look at that receiver room, Jim, and to me, you've got 4 locks, right, barring injury.
Right.
Amari, Jerry Jeudy, Elijah Moore, and Cedric Tillman. Beyond that, I think it's wide open. Now,
David Bell.
I think David Bell's competing for a roster spot. Yeah, absolutely. And part of the problem for David Bell is, while he is a good route runner, he is smart, he does everything right, he just doesn't necessarily have that juice and the speed that some other people in the league have.
I thought right at the end of the year last year, I thought he kind of found himself, not only that touchdown that kind of, opened up that game against Jacksonville, but I thought that all of a sudden on 3rd down, he was finding that spot beyond the sticks and getting them the first down. I thought he found that part of the grass, and it seemed to me that was his role anyway.
Yeah, 14 catches, 167 yards last year. Obviously, his first career touchdown on that 4th down play against the Jags, where they forgot to cover David Bell, and he went for 41 yards. Best game, though, the most encouraging thing if you're David Bell that you're trying to build on was Week 18. We rest the starters. He gets to start that game, but Cincinnati did not rest their starters.
No.
You were playing them certainly on the defensive side of the ball, and he had 4 catches, 68 yards, and caught 2 touchdowns in that game.
And one of them was a beauty.
A beautiful catch.
Yeah,
so,
beauty in the right corner. Got his feet down, made a great play.
That's what you're hoping that he can build on that and kind of cement himself. Talking to some people in the organization, they think that, and the option routes, the choice routes, the freedom, those are the things, route running, those are the things that he does well. It's just, does he have enough juice? They've liked Jamari Thrash so far. I think Jamari Thrash would probably be, if you're saying 6 today, you'd probably say Bell and Jamari Thrash. But, Jalen Darden's got some abilities, certainly as a returner as well. You got Mike Woods. You got Matt Landers, who has unique size and speed in terms of what they've got. Amari and Browns, I know, an undrafted free agent who never was really all that productive in college, although he does have one cool little fact about him. In 2019, as a freshman at Georgia Tech, and they don't throw it a ton, he had 21 catches, 396 yards, and 7 touchdowns, which actually tied Calvin Johnson's record for most touchdowns by a freshman.
Do you remember when they didn't throw it at all? They were like a service academy because of Paul Johnson, their head coach.
They didn't, and they
had Calvin Johnson
and then Demaryius Thomas.
Yeah. I mean, they wouldn't throw it at
all.
Yeah,
no,
really. Army threw it more than they did.
Yeah. So he's, again, these are guys that are competing. Brown's got 4.37 40. Same with Landers. Landers, though, does that at 6'4", whereas Brown's a smaller receiver. To me, this is a group of 4. We're going to see more 10 personnel than we've seen ever out of Kevin Stefanski, and it's possible, quite frankly, that the Browns lead the league in 10 personnel this year, which is 4 receivers, no tight ends. this team is those four are there. I think everything else is open. I think if you go out there and you have a big time preseason,
Yeah.
you have a chance potentially to move kind of up the ladder here with this Cleveland Browns football team. All right, when we come back, we're going to go around the league a little bit. We're going to talk at some linebacker lists from the ESPN as well as Pro Football Focus, and we'll hear about that. And then coming into hour number 2, we kick things off with the general manager of your Cleveland Browns, an exclusive interview you can only hear on Cleveland Browns Daily.
Good talk.
Very good talk. Browns fans, come party with Josh Cribbs, Kevin Mack, Joe Hayden, and more.
Joe Hayden.
Joe Hayden added to the Las Vegas trip. True Fan Travel is hosting premium trip packages for Browns fans in Vegas, New Orleans, Denver, and D.C. Flights, hotels, tailgates, tickets, and more, all taken care of. Visit truefantravel.com today and reserve your ultimate Browns travel package. That's right. Joe Hayden has joined the Las Vegas trip. There will be a boat party on the Mississippi for Browns fans the night before the game featuring Kevin Mack. That's got to be in New Orleans?
That is in New Orleans.
Oh, on the Mississippi.
Yes.
I was going to say.
It's on the Mississippi.
They're doing – so I think it's Mack going to New Orleans. Hayden's in Vegas.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
I thought
Josh
you had
Cribbs
I thought you had the Mississippi.
Maybe Cribbs
going
is
up
going
to
to.
Yeah, I thought it was.
Maybe
Yeah,
Cribbs
not
is
a
going
data.
to both of them.
If you can't have a good time with Joe Hayden, you can't have a good time.
I think that is fair to say.
He's
I think
always in a great mood, isn't he?
You will. He's so positive. So much energy, so positive. Guy loves golf, obsessed with the game of
Oh, I
golf
didn't
now.
know that.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
he is an avid golfer now.
And
Doing well.
Playing well.
Yeah, playing well. Yeah, it's one of those things he wants to conquer.
Did
so.
you open him to the game?
I did not, but he and I have had many a
Talked.
discussion
Yeah,
about. Oh yeah,
okay.
he actually plays with I think Nick Jonas. He and Nick Jonas
does.
out in L.A. play
Wow.
golf together all the time, and Nick Jonas is a big
At
avid golfer.
LACC?
I don't know if they're in
No.
LACC, but maybe Bel Air.
Yeah, it's Beller.
They're in there, or Riviera. Who knows? Someplace.
It's a
Someplace lovely. A lovely place to
Yeah,
play to play
exactly.
your golf for sure.
It's not Big Matt.
No, no, it is not. All right, we're going to go around the league right now. The Bengals have unveiled a state-of-the-art locker room renovation that includes upgraded lockers, rhythm lighting that syncs to music, and a new sound system, increased Wi-Fi. Joe Burrow on the new locker room, quote, "It's sick. We're going to love coming into work. I'm really happy with it. It's quite an upgrade."
You know, one time I was doing a Bengals game on NBC, and you would go in on Friday, to meet with the players and coaches. And so the Friday practice is kind of,
Fast Friday.
Informal Fast Friday. And the big excitement that day in the Bengals locker room was they were getting pizza for lunch. And they went, wow, this is changing the culture here. We're going to have pizza. It was amazing. I think they do things down there. I think they do them, a little slower.
Yeah.
A little slower.
That's right.
But, they're getting there.
But I'll say this. I think a lot of it has to do with Mike Brown's daughter, who is heavily investing in that football team and, getting their own indoor facility. And getting, she's really been adamant, we need to spend money to keep up here.
I mean, it's amazing when you watch them practice and where they practice.
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, they're right in the middle of the city.
Yes.
Right
Freeways
over
overpasses
freeway
going
is
all
right
around.
by. There's a bridge there. And
I got to drive through it
and
literally on my way home from Atlanta. We went right by their practice facility, right by the stadium.
And remember, that's a movie that's coming out in about a year.
My Odyssey? Goodness gracious.
The remake of The Out-of-Towners.
Yeah, no doubt. Planes, trains, and automobiles. We almost needed all of them to get our way home. One thing I was just saying, coming off of that report, and you talk about the Bengals, is that one thing Browns fans should feel very good about is that their owners are sparing no expense to give these players the absolute best environment and the one that is most conducive to them maximizing their potential and success on the field.
And look at where we are.
Right.
Look at where we are.
This is at the Motel 6.
They have taken and moved camp all the way out here to West Virginia. And, if you go ranking and file, the players really, they're all in on this.
They are.
They
and that
really
comes,
are.
Let me tell you something. This is not free for the Haslams.
No.
And not by a long shot. So it's another investment. And it's one of the things that, you hear players come in and they say, man, I've been a lot of places. I haven't been a place where I've been treated as well as this. And it's a good thing for rookies to hear that, hey, the grass is not always greener out there. This is a place you want to be. And you're getting a sense, we heard a phrase today that I don't know that you and I have ever heard in such a positive light, Cleveland culture.
Yeah. First of all, I thought for a long time we didn't have it. Then I worried we had it, but we
it
were
was
on the
not
wrong.
good.
Yeah, we were on the wrong side of it. But that has completely turned right now, and I mean it is there, and it is there, and it is building, and it's become kind of a tradition now. And that's where you want it.
Yes.
I mean,
it's a place that people want to be.
Come.
They want to come, and guys who are here don't want to leave.
Right.
And so that, I think, it's a very good thing for the Browns, that's for sure. A video of Tampa Bay defensive tackle Vita Vea shotgunning a Gatorade during a Bucs practice is going viral. Say
It's
what?
pretty amazing. Brock showed it to me yesterday.
Out of
said
one
you
of
gotta
like the
see
big
it.
bottles?
Yeah.
Jeez Louise.
Literally shotguns
He
it.
just needs that hydration. Good for him. Got to
It's a
get
little
those
warm down there.
electrolytes. Yeah.
Got to hit the field early there.
In some not-so-good news out of Pittsburgh, although lots of reports now of Justin Fields throwing picks, and now everybody there is down on him in less than
Perfect.
1 week.
Good. Chaos.
Steelers rookie wide receiver Roman Wilson was carted off the field at today's practice. Reports said it looked like an apparent left foot or ankle injury. Obviously, hope he does well. Was a very productive player at Michigan and actually fell. A lot of people thought he was going to go in the second round in this draft.
I
and he
remember
fell to
that.
the
Yeah,
Steelers.
yeah. And I thought he was very, very effective at Michigan. Big
Yes.
catches, big plays at big times in games.
Absolutely.
You know, one of those guys that
Clutch when they needed a play. They went to Roman Wilson. There's no doubt. All right, Gibbe, let's get you in here. Pro Football Focus has put out their top 32 linebackers. ESPN, Jeremy Fowler now talking about the different, with the executives and coaches around the league to put together the top 10. These are off-ball linebackers, not outside linebackers. They're on the edge.
I believe that's
linebackers.
true for both of them.
All right,
it might not be, but we'll see here as we go.
I don't know if I'm going to be able to get to 10, but I think I've got some good guesses for you when you got the ESPN list at the ready.
We're ready.
And Jim, you throw out names too. Let's see if we can nail the top 10. Roquan Smith,
number 2.
Number 2
what
on your
player.
list.
Huh?
Very good player. Not
Matt Milano.
Let's see. Number 3 on the ESPN list.
Wow.
Number 4 on the
looks a lot like
PFF list.
looks like okay. So we got Matt. Very good. Fred Warner.
Number 1 on the
That's
ESPN
a
list.
good
Number
player,
1 on the PFF list.
All right, I'm going to go home. JOK.
I can't believe it took you this long. Number 6 on the ESPN
All right,
list.
so we're 4 for 4.
I didn't want to be greedy.
Bobby.
JOK.
What do you think of that? Hang
Number
on.
8 on the PFF list.
Number 6.
Yes.
Yeah.
The guy did
They
something.
saw what we saw last year, especially at the end of the year.
He did something that only 2 linebackers have done since 2010, and I know it was Luke Kuechly, and I want to say the other, it was one of the Buccaneers guys.
Levante David?
It could have been Levante. I think it was Levante David. He had 20 tackles for loss.
Yeah.
And 100 tackles in the same season as an off-ball linebacker. That
Yeah.
doesn't happen. 20 tackles for loss. He was 3rd in the NFL.
Yeah.
Behind 2 pass rushers. Daniil Hunter, I think, and Max Crosby were 1 and 2. He was number 3. So you talk about making impact plays. He can sack the quarterback. He can play the run.
Right.
He can cover in space. He can do it.
Yeah.
Absolutely do it all. And listen, there wasn't much positive to take out of that playoff loss in Houston. But if there was one thing, it was that JOK was not the best player on the Browns that day. He was the best player on the field.
All over the field. He was all over the field.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
All
Are we going?
So we got 4. We're 4 for 4 so far.
Yeah.
Patrick Queen.
On the ESPN list, number 4.
Wow.
What a pickup by the Squealers.
I know. You leave the Ravens. Get out of the division.
Get out of the division.
Get out of
Leave
here.
me alone.
Like
7 at PFF.
All right, so we have 5 for 5. Bobby Wagner. I think he had 180 tackles last year.
Scrolling. Uh-oh. You might not be getting this one. 20 for on the PFF
20?
list. Honorable mention.
Honorable
on the
mention.
ESPN
Okay, we
list.
won't ding ourselves too bad for that one. Demario Davis, former Cleveland Brown.
Number 8 on the ESPN list. Number 3 on PFF.
Oh, DeMario, we only knew you for such a short period of time. Yeah.
Generous.
What about Levante David? Is he on the list?
He's 6th on the PFF list. Honorable mention on ESPN.
Honorable mention. Edmonds,
Yeah.
who's on the Bears now.
Yep. Number 7 on
Okay.
the ESPN list.
All right.
Yeah,
So I
the
think we've got
Chicago Bears.
We're there.
11 on the PFF.
we've got at least 7 of them. I'll throw another one. The guy from the Jets, Quincy Williams.
He's 12 on the PFF. Honorable mention on ESPN.
Honorable mention.
I've got there's one that PFF didn't count because they didn't think they don't know if he's going to play this year or not. That's Greenlaw from the 49ers.
Dre Greenlaw.
Oh.
Yep.
And ESPN had him 9th.
Okay.
So
there are 2 more. Give us some hints.
one plays for Jacksonville.
Oh,
He's number 10 on the list, and one plays for the defending Super Bowl champs, and he's number 5 on the list.
Oh, the kid from Bolton.
Yes.
Nick Bolton.
That was the guy that was. The Browns were very high on Nick Bolton, and that year they may have taken him when shocked a lot of people with a big Mike linebacker, but the Browns were very high on Nick Bolton. You said the other one's for the Jags?
The Jags at number
Jaguars.
10.
Is that guy is Devin Lloyd?
I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to pronounce his name.
Oh, yeah.
There it is.
The guy that
the
was
guy
with
from
the
Yale.
Falcons.
Isn't he from Yale? Didn't he play at Yale?
Olakun?
Yeah.
Yes.
Foyesade?
Oluokun.
Oluokun?
Oluokun, I think
Yeah.
is his,
Sure.
is his name.
What's his
Gesundheit.
first name?
Yeah.
Was that
Wow.
kind
I'm
of
going to call him F.
F?
I'm going to pull a deke and just use his first initial.
Is it like Foyesade,
Mike.
something like that?
SADE.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I remember that guy. Yeah, we had them. That was my first game ever in the booth with you. It was outside of London, obviously.
Oh,
but
yeah,
on
yeah,
the
yeah.
continental U.S. was Jags preseason game.
But he had a very good game against us
we recapped that last night.
year, I
Yeah.
think, too. Yeah.
Yeah. When he came to the Jags the year before with Atlanta, he had something like 190 tackles. He led the league in tackles. All right.
Brock, any other linebackers on the PFF top 32? The honorable mentions for ESPN: C.J. Mosley, Levante David,
Wow.
Quincy Williams, Logan Wilson of the Bengals, Zaire Franklin, T.J. Edwards,
Zaire Franklin.
Bobby Wagner.
Bobby Wagner deserves a little
yeah.
bit of
Boy,
little
yeah,
respect.
some of these are really older linebackers.
Well, yeah.
You know? Is the position getting old? What do you think?
JOK is young.
He's young. Patrick Queen's young.
But he's into his second contract, but yes, relatively young.
relatively
Yeah,
young.
I agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of them are older.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those positions that with
You get a good guy in there.
and they can play for
They
a
play
long,
for a
long
long
time,
time, yeah.
and be very, very effective
They
for
know how
you
to play the position.
doing
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
That's interesting. That's interesting. JOK getting the quite frankly, it's deserved. It is
Absolutely.
his just due, as
Yeah.
they like to say.
But they've also, this team went out and addressed a major need to help those linebackers make plays.
yeah.
In
Beef
Jordan
up the
Hicks.
defensive line.
In-
Dalvin Tomlinson.
Are you talking
Like-
about Hicks,
Yeah.
too?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But I
Even
just
last
meant
year, right.
like last year.
Oh, okay.
You know, JOK had a great year, and I'm not taking anything away. He's deserving of an extension at some point, and he,
Yes, I'd like. it
as
to
you
be
guys
today.
said in that playoff game, he was the best player on the field.
By
but
far.
it also has helped that this team addressed the guys in front of him that allow him
Yes,
to go
be
around and
free
make plays.
not, right, he's not taking on linemen at the second level, and
Yeah.
he's got a unique ability.
And they did that after that Eagles joint practice at
They
the
knew
cross
they needed
country
to get
mortgage
bigger
campus.
up front. Yeah, they knew they did, and they did do that. And that's one of the reasons they draft a guy like Siaki Ika as well. You need your playmakers free to make plays.
Right.
Where did Jordan Hicks land on that on PFF? Was he on the? He wasn't there.
Nope.
That's interesting to me because he's been so productive, so consistent, and he is, 5 straight seasons over 100 tackles, excellent in coverage. That's interesting, and I know he'll benefit from being here with the guys in front like you talked about, and I think JOK, you talked to Jim Schwartz about it, or Jason Tarver, they think JOK is going to benefit tremendously from being next to Jordan Hicks.
I don't doubt it. I think he is, his arrow is way up. I mean, it really is. Thrilling to watch play.
He is.
Yeah.
He is.
And that's just not the Golden Domer coming out in Donovan.
No. And the other thing is he knows the game now.
Yes.
I think, early on he counted on his natural ability and really didn't understand the NFL game. Now he does. And you put that together with a lot of athletic ability, and wow, you have a great player.
Well, he used to always say, when you see too much, you see too little. and I think for a long time he was seeing too much, and now he knows exactly what he's supposed to be seeing, and that's great for the Browns, bad for the rest of the NFL. When we come back, whoa, what a treat. We're going to be joined by the general manager of your Cleveland Browns, Andrew Berry, live from the Greenbrier in West Virginia. The field's getting set up. Browns training camp practice number 5, just about a half hour away here. You're listening to 850 ESPN Cleveland. Welcome back to Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Ballybet, a sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns, live at the Greenbrier. Nathan Zagura, the voice of your Browns, Jim Donovan, and we are joined now by a Big L luminary, the general manager of your Cleveland Browns, Andrew Barry. AB, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Nathan, Jim, thank you for having me.
Oh, it's always a pleasure to have you back at the Greenbrier this year. How's it been going so far?
It's besides the rain today, it's been going really well. We love it here. It's secluded, allows us to focus on us. The facilities are great, the staff's fantastic. So we're excited to be back here for a second year.
So you saw it work coming here last year, and easy decision then to come back?
Yeah, incredibly easy decision to come back, Jim. We just felt like to be away from the distractions, to allow the team to come together both personally and professionally. It was the right way to start camp, set the tone, so to speak, before we go back to Berea.
Yeah. All right, we're going to talk about this team in a second, but I've been told, on the day off that you lead a hike that is not for the faint of heart. And I've heard that 2 years ago, some people almost didn't survive this hike and maybe opted out this year. Tell us about the yearly AB hike.
So it was actually recommended by one of our local beat writers, Terry Pluto. He had done the path, and he was basically like, hey, just as a heads up, like the last, maybe 3/4 of a mile, it's super steep and it's really hard. And so we went as a group last year, and we started off. It's like, oh, this isn't so bad. Oh, Terry just, he just like built this up, and then we got to the ascent, and it was pretty brutal. Now the lookout point was worth it.
Yeah.
Now here's the thing: we did it again this year, so it was about we hiked 2.5 miles last year.
Okay.
And we were doing the, I'll say, quote unquote, same hike this year. Well, we made a comedy of errors and got lost multiple times. The 2.5 mile hike turned into 9.25 miles, and it was rough. It was rough. I'm not gonna lie. It was rough.
Next year you might be alone.
Yeah. No. So I'm gonna blame our personnel operations director, Megan Rock. And say that she can no longer be navigator this year, or next year. So we'll get it right. Third time's a charm.
You need that guy, Bear Grylls.
That's right.
That's the guy. Huh?
That's
you
right.
can do this.
That's
you
exactly
can get it,
right.
Andrew.
That's exactly right.
Well, at least you guys got good shape. 9 miles. What a bonus workout.
Yeah, my feet and knees and ankles, I'm like all sore. Like coming up these stairs was just like a colossal
It was a chore.
Challenge. Yeah.
Did they send people out after you?
So funny thing is, we actually got lost at the lookout point the first year. And then one of our ops interns, Jacqueline, she had to take the van to get us back down to the entry point. So don't follow us with the hike.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
But follow this football team on the field, man. I'll tell you what, we're just easing into things. Obviously, the first day in pads today, and no team periods, anything like that. But you can just see the talent that is out there, and obviously some more guys you want to get back on the field. But how are you feeling about just the state of the roster right now?
I feel like this, we're encouraged with the state of the roster. We like the mix of talent, youth, experience. Believe that everybody on our team can either has a role or will fight for a role. So we're very optimistic. We want to make sure we're healthy. That's probably the big thing. And we're also, humble enough to realize that it's a competitive league, and you never know, how things will surprise you in both directions going into it. So, we're cautiously optimistic. We feel like we have a lot of talent, in the mix, but we still have a long way to go and a lot of work to do before we get to where we need to be.
David Njoku was speaking with the media today, and he goes, "I'm in my 8th year," and I go, "Wow,
yeah.
8 years."
Yeah.
Is it an older roster right now, do you think? Because I look at them and, Denzel, he's a kid,
Yeah, I think, Jim, we have a nice mix of youth and experience.
Right.
I think for the longest time, particularly call it 6-7 years ago, we were always like the youngest team in the league.
Yes.
Right?
By a lot.
Right, by
a
like we
lot,
were like historically young, and now I think we're, now the way we think about it is like basically snap adjusted age, so weight age by how many snaps the players actually take. We're really more middle of the pack, which is kind of where you want to be in your in your competitive window. So we think it's the right mix as we sit here today.
One of those veterans, and you made Jim very happy by resolving whatever the situation was with Amari Cooper. Talk to us about kind of that decision and what that sets up, not only for this year, maybe some flexibility for the football team, but also for the future.
I was up all night, pacing back and forth.
No, we love Amari. We love Amari, and we know our fans love Amari. he's an excellent player. He's an excellent human being. He's a big piece of our locker room, and so we were able to get that resolved. And I think Amari was good at communicating throughout the whole time. I know he talked a little bit about his decision to sit out at mini camp, and we knew he wasn't going to sit out at training camp, but we understood his position in terms of not taking on injury risk, something fluke happen. But we were happy to get it to a good place. As we enter camp and enter the season. He's a big part of what we do, and we have a lot of love and respect and appreciation for him.
Now you don't have this going on, and Amari is here, and it's all done. But there are teams that have this new thing of guys coming in, but they don't perform because they're waiting on a deal. It's nice that we don't have that, but that's troublesome, isn't it?
Yeah, I think each organization handles it differently. I mean, I think you can look at the two teams that went to the Super Bowl last year. Kansas City dealt with that with their longest tenured, or one of their longest tenured players in Chris Jones.
Yeah.
He actually didn't play week 1. Didn't really impact their culture or their season. San Francisco, they dealt with that with Nick Bosa and Debo, and they're having a couple situations this year. Didn't really impact their culture or their season. So it's an unfortunate part of the business. I think for us, a big way that we've prevented that is being proactive, with our guys. And then the other thing is, like, our guys, generally know we have a long-standing policy that, for hold-ins or holdouts, we don't negotiate. So we're just being consistent, but also more importantly, being proactive with our guys. That's the important part.
Yeah, it's good you got that done. There's really now it's just when will some of the guys coming off injury be back? That's kind of the biggest question right now for this team. And as you kind of look at the roster with some of those guys, when are you kind of hopeful for maybe some of these tackles, especially, let's say, on the offensive line, so we can kind of see what this line's going to look like?
Yeah, I won't go into specifics with the timeline other than to say the guys, they're progressing appropriately for their respective injuries. We want them back on the field as soon as possible, no different than our fans, and no different than you do, Nathan, and you do, Jim. But we're gonna deal with it day by day and week by week and make sure that they're ready to go, so that when they do get on the field, they don't have to come back off.
Do you think when we watch the offense, we're going to go, when it's finally out there, we're going to go, wow, really different?
Yeah.
Or is it, it was?
It's a good question, Jim. I think when we watch the offense, it will be a scheme that maximizes the skill sets of our players. And that can look a number of different ways, depending on the opponent or depending on the personnel grouping that we have out here. But I think it'll be a nice blend of different things. And but part of it is, part of training camp in the early part of the season is figuring out, okay, well, what are we actually good at? Just because you do have a lot of things in doesn't mean that you're necessarily going to do all of it if you're if you're not good at it. And I don't want our fans to lose sight of the fact that there are a number of things that we've done in the past that were really good that are going to stay staples of the offense. So I'm excited about seeing it all come together, but we're still in the lab, so to speak, tinkering and figuring out how everything's going to look.
I know that you enjoy probably some of the process. So you bring in Ken Dorsey, and we know that there's going to be a percentage, and Kevin said he wouldn't put a number on it, but that will be different. And so that maybe, we've heard more choice routes, option routes. So maybe some different skill sets than perhaps what we were looking for before. So was that kind of fun for you to sit down with Coach Stefanski, Coach Dorsey, and say, okay, give me the vision. What are the traits you're looking for? What are the things that you really want to have in the skill position player so that we can maximize that?
Yeah, I think any healthy relationship or healthy dynamic between a coaching staff and a front office, there is that communication in terms of, okay, here's the playing philosophy and the specific roles that we need to maximize the playing philosophy, and then ultimately, marrying that with personnel. So that's a yearly discussion for us. Obviously, when you change a coordinator, it's it's more significant. It was fun to put together the pieces with that group this year.
It was a great defense last year. Wow. A lot of wow moments. What is their next step?
Yeah, I think the next step, and Jim's been very proactive, is really making sure that we have a number of counter punches, because as good as we were last year, one, every year is different, and two, teams now have a full year of what we do, and it would be silly of us to think that we're going to be there aren't going to be some adjustments in terms of how we play. So Jim and the defensive staff, they've been very mindful of that. We're still going to be at our core attack defense that plays a lot of one high coverage and press man, but making sure that we have the things that play off of that give us enough diversity for some of the new ways that offenses may try and exploit us.
When you think about your first time with the Browns, and I imagine it was difficult maybe to get people to want to come beat Cleveland Browns, then you think about the fact this year Zadarius wanted to come back, Shelby wanted to come back, Mo Hurst wanted to come back, Jordan Hicks wanted to join the fold, Rodney McLeod had to come back. Mm-hmm. That guys want to be Cleveland Browns. When you kind of think of what that means from a culture perspective, how kind of proud are you of that development?
Yeah, I mean, I think players, coaches, staff, they want to be able to win, and they want to feel like they're treated well. And I think it really just kind of boils down to that, and especially those vets who we have such a high amount of respect, or high degree of respect for, to be able to bring them back and for them to want to come back. It's just something that's very important to us.
I was telling the birthday guy over there about this, but Dustin Hopkins, we did an interview with him, and it may as well have been a PSA for the Browns, and he spoke a lot about what you were talking about, that the football is great, but the values, being able to spend time with your family, things like that are clearly important to this organization and aren't maybe in some others, is a pretty special thing. And I think you guys have done a great job. Jordan Hicks said already, this is completely different than anything I've ever experienced in a very positive way.
It's always great for the guys who have been other places to be able to say that, to give the PSA, so to speak, because it certainly helps with recruiting.
Yeah, it's good. It's good advertising.
And but also, just as importantly, it helps our younger players who have only come up in Cleveland to hear that from people. Appreciate what's here. So that's always really good to hear, and we're going to continue to strive and be better, be top of class in those areas, so we can get the best talent possible.
I mean, right at the end of it, he said, "I'm Dustin Hopkins, and I approve it. I approve this ad." Football 101. I'm really interested. Your staff right now, scouts, personnel people. What are they doing right now?
Yeah, so it depends on what area that you're in. So I'll break it down simply just to the scouting
I think
staff.
a lot of people would be interested.
Yeah. So I'll touch on our college scouting staff. They're already out on the road. They're going out to different training camps for colleges in their areas, talking with coaches, seeing prospects, because all summer they had been setting our initial draft board. They had gone in there, done the rising seniors, draft eligible juniors, so they could budget their time in the fall. So that's where they are. Our pro scouting staff, they're doing a combination of internal scouting with our team as we think about cutting the roster in the next couple weeks, and really preparing for preseason scouting, which is scouting all 31 other teams. So we have the ability to acquire players that could help us. So that's what led to the Pierre Strong trade last year. It led to claiming
I like him, by the
Halasi.
way.
And it led to us trading for Dustin Hopkins. That process led to those three transactions. Our contract management team, we usually take this time to think about, okay, how are we going to handle things from here to the trade deadline if different opportunities come up, if we're dealing with different extensions, like August is a big time for that. And then maybe some early initial planning around 2025 and 2025 and beyond.
All right, we'll get you out of here on this one, and appreciate the time as always. So training camp underway, obviously exciting preseason games coming. What are you just kind of hoping to see? Maybe even top level, not getting into the weeds with positions or battles or anything like that, but what are you just kind of hoping to see from this football team as you ramp up with all eyes on September 8th against the Dallas Cowboys and beyond?
Number one is health, which I think every general manager will say that. We
agree.
Kevin always jokes with me because I'm like, if you ask me, I would say like we'd never practice because I just want to put everybody in bubble wrap so that they're healthy for the
bubble wrap.
The season.
I'm with you.
Number two, come together as a group that likes being around one another. Why this Greenbrier time is really important, because that's the stuff that helps when you go through the moments of adversity. And then number three, it's maximizing our potential within the respective systems that we have on all three sides of the ball, and that's going to come with practices and reps, because I think if we hit those three aiming points, we'll look up and be happy where we are on September 8th and December 8th and February 8th.
Yes,
so
sir.
Really focusing on the daily process, and then we think the outcomes we'll be pleased with.
Well, thanks for the time, and best of luck achieving those 3 things and then getting into this season and letting this team rip.
Appreciate you guys.
All right, General Manager Andrew Barry with us. We'll be back with more Cleveland Browns Daily live from the Greenbrier on 850 ESPN Cleveland. All right. Does your furry friend have what it takes to beat out the competition? Enter the Dog Dash Sweepstakes presented by Milkbone for a chance to have your pup compete in the annual halftime dog races. Visit clevelandbrowns.com/milkbone to enter, and hopefully your dog is the one that actually gets the message and runs to the end and is not looking for treats. And check out more from Milkbone at your local grocery or pet supplies store.
Mine do not. They do not. They don't have that burning in their belly.
They don't have the desire to go sprint.
They're all about the treat. Okay,
yeah, right.
Nothing about the race. Okay.
Nothing about the word. Just give me the treat because I'm cute. Yeah.
And then I wear the shirt that says sucker on it, and give them the treat. Yeah. There you go.
My kids yell at me all the time because and our dog she did have to go on a diet, but she's in very good shape now. But my dog lives for our affection and for food. And I always tell my kids, I say, imagine this. Imagine if tomorrow a 100-foot giant came and plucked you away from your family and said, you're going to live with us now. You're never going to see any of us again, and perhaps when you get to go walked around the neighborhood, you see other humans.
Yeah.
And they know that what really makes you happy is a little bit of affection and food. Wouldn't it be mean if they denied you food? Like
yes,
right.
Yes, yeah,
So if that makes if Asa wants a treat, fine. She wants a bite of steak. She's a great carnivore. Fine.
Yeah.
Try to make her life as happy as it can be.
Yeah, nice and smooth. But anyway, you should go to the races down at the stadium. They're great.
They are very.
Yeah, they are a lot of fun.
They certainly are.
The crowd really does get into it.
Yes. It's a great halftime event.
They lock onto one little cute guy, and boom.
They get their fan favorites, and hopefully they can get across the finish line, much like, spoiler alert, Olympics, if you're not watching, the women's rugby sevens team had probably one of the most dramatic finishes you will ever see to earn the bronze medal.
They have been a great opening act, I think, in the Olympics for the United States. I think that's, not that I know it, the background of it, but I would think this is a bit of a surprise.
It is a surprise. Yes, it was a massive upset to beat Australia, and they get that bronze medal on literally. It was kind of, somebody said it was like the 2013 Alabama-Auburn Iron Bowl with just the shocking nature of the return when it was over. Yeah,
we talked about the kick.
We did
yesterday in a different vein.
See, it all comes full circle here.
Incidentally, on that note, the men's gymnastics team, we watched them last night. Good for them.
Good for them. Bronze medal.
Yeah, well done.
Clark Kent, now the new hero on the pommel horse, locked in his glasses.
Wow,
takes them off.
him,
Superman.
Get ready.
He was in his zone, baby.
How about that guy?
He was in his zone.
I have to tell you, he was making me nervous.
There were a lot of memes on social media saying, telling that people's bosses, don't get mad at me when I'm napping at work. I'm really just locking in so that I can do my job at a high level. But, yeah, that was incredible.
Good for them.
And the Olympic ratings are through the roof. People are really enjoying the Olympics this summer from Paris, and it's been fun to see the U.S. doing a very good job, and hopefully more to come.
Think about it. 4 years ago, they were in Tokyo, and nobody was at them.
Right.
So I think the fact that they're, first of all, in a great city, and that people are there, I think it has really added to it.
Yeah, some of the venue sites they've chosen are spectacular.
Beautiful, yeah.
Spectacular. Be able to get a little 2-on-2 beach volleyball with the Eiffel Tower literally right behind you has been awesome. All right, so the Browns are on the field now, going through kind of the individual period, getting warmed up, a little walkthrough before we get practice underway here in probably 5 or so minutes. One of the things came across, and it was the social media from Dove Kleiman yesterday, was NFL divisions reimagined to try to make them as geographically close to one another as possible. And so they have different names for the divisions than we're used to, but I actually thought it was pretty cool. And so it starts off with the Pacific, which has everybody on the Pacific Ocean, the Seahawks, the Niners, the Rams, so those three stay the same. And then you add the Chargers. And I kind of like the idea of having some of the two city teams be in the same division together. I think that's actually pretty fun. Then the Big Sky region, and this is geographically by far the biggest because it goes as far west as Las Vegas. You got the Arizona Cardinals, and then you have got the Denver Broncos and the Kansas City Chiefs. So you could have the Raiders, the Rams, the Chargers, and the Cardinals in one, but then that would be with Seattle's just so isolated. I think that's what they felt keeping it that way made the most sense.
Tell us about it.
We'll be there,
we'll
10
be there,
p.m. Eastern for the kickoff of the final preseason game, which I will tell you caught everybody in this organization off guard.
Everybody.
Yes, and still have not gotten answers as to why this has happened. The South would be Dallas and Houston, New Orleans and Tennessee. The Atlantic would be, which is really, they call it the Florida-Georgia line is what they should call this one, is the Falcons, the Jags, the Bucks, and the Dolphins. I like that one. The Mid-Atlantic is Bengals, Ravens, Commanders, and Panthers. Northeast, Philly, Giants, Jets, Patriots. I like that division.
Yeah.
That would be a fun division
good,
with a lot of already very natural rivalries. The Great Lakes West, Minnesota, Green Bay, Chicago, Indy. And then the Great Lakes East, which I think would remain the best division in football, Detroit, Browns, Bills, Steelers.
Wow. Yeah.
That would be a pretty fun division as well.
That would be a good one, yeah.
So that's just kind of trying to put it geographically.
We still can't get out of the best division in the NFL.
No, it doesn't. We can't escape
that happens.
it.
No, yeah.
That's a loaded division.
I mean, the Chiefs, I think, would be thrilled with this because they drop the Chargers for the Cardinals. So I think they would like their division. I think Cowboys and the Texans would be pretty fun in that South. The Atlantic, Falcons, Jags, Bucks, and the Dolphins, pretty good as well.
And the Patriots one.
The Patriots and the Northeast would be
I think that one
awesome.
And I think us.
Yeah.
Where we are.
Those are the two best.
Buffalo. Yeah. Okay.
Buffalo, Browns,
Pittsburgh.
Lions, Steelers, and then the other we were referencing would be Patriots, Jets, Giants, Eagles. That would be
You would almost not need a plane.
You would not.
You would be
No.
driving,
or the train.
Or the train. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
They used to do that.
Well, we bust. I know we bust to Detroit every time I've ever gone there.
And
in my
Pittsburgh.
career, and Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
So
it's an awful bus ride. Just awful.
It is
Only
not
because-
great.
Only because I've never won.
Yeah, only because of the result.
Right.
Yeah.
I think I'm the only one here who's at least in the last since I started. I'm the only one who's seen a win in Pittsburgh, in person.
I have seen one.
In your whole time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Tim Couch.
Oh
well,
yeah.
I mean, now in this stadium.
Sure.
I saw another one. Let me see. Well, when they first came back, their first year back, they won at Three Rivers. I think it was the last game at Three Rivers Stadium. Phil Dawson hit a winning field goal.
But that's amazing. Oh, you've only seen one at Heinz Field. I mean, you think
Tim
that
Couch.
is you're right.
Yeah.
Was it like a Monday night or a
Sunday
night?
game.
It was I knew it was a night
game.
game.
He never had played better.
No,
he
he ran one in, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And they had orange pants on that night.
They did.
They were really good. Yeah, Dalen McCutcheon had a big interception in the game, and they dominated the game. And really, it was really nice because they finally won there. The other thing was that particular night, post-game wise, I think the city of Pittsburgh felt the sky was falling.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
We need to win more often in Pittsburgh. I think that's a big takeaway from this segment.
I think you're right.
The Browns, we're not getting away from them, even if they do this kind of reimagined divisions. We've got to be able to go ahead and do that. Some news from around the league. Preseason stuff. Might as well get into that. Some of the we've talked so much about the different philosophies, what's going to look like in the preseason for various teams. Well, the Hall of Fame game with the Chicago Bears, you will not be seeing Caleb Williams or any of their starters. So probably not a surprise, but you've heard a lot of people, Dan Orlovsky, other pundits say, get him him being Caleb Williams, as many reps as you can so that he's ready to hit the ground running week one. The Hall of Fame game it's such a great celebration of the NFL, and you see all the greats come back, all the gold jackets, and last year so special. We were involved in it, obviously, as Joe Thomas went into the Hall. But it is not a game where the people you will expect to see playing in week one will play.
No, not at all. Yeah. Is Joe going to be at the
I don't think so.
events?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think he is in Germany. Last I saw him, he was on like bobsled tracks going through the mountains.
I think the family was at Taylor Swift.
They were just at Taylor
over
Swift
the weekend.
Yes. Yeah.
Where was that?
Germany.
In Berlin, like
Munich.
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 Yeah,
okay.
he's in Munich.
Wow.
Yeah, so they've been all Swiss Family Thomas over there. They've been all over the place adventuring.
Every part of Europe.
Every part of Europe.
I think they've covered it all.
Yeah. And then now they got Taylor Swift as well. So no, I don't think he will be back. But it is it really is a special environment.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah. Good luck to Canton. They do a great job down there. It's they're well into it right now.
Oh yeah.
And every night there's 5 different things going on, and it's everybody gets involved in it, which is really cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a civic kind of experience for them.
Well, and the other point is that sometimes we haven't had football in so long, so you'll watch it on Thursday night.
Right.
We will watch it, I'm sure, together here on Thursday night. But
packing.
That was.
I think Zagura's already packed. He was packed after day 2.
We'll be packing.
I hope so. I think we'll have ample. The sad part is I think we'll have ample time to pack on Friday, as a matter of fact, before we head home.
Oh, no. I think when you come here Friday morning.
You have to have your bag in?
Yeah.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah, you might have to turn it in Thursday night.
All right, let's just relax.
It will be done.
Let's deal with that when we need to deal with that.
I'm pretty sure.
I was going to say something fun, like you got a glimpse of DTR and said, oh, maybe there's something there. Austin Watkins became your preseason standout, in that game. Ronnie Hickman. So there will be some things to watch, probably for the teams that are participating. They'll be more interested, but it's fun to see. I know our scouts, the pro scouts, will be watching because a lot of the guys that will be playing are guys that potentially could be available at the 53-man cutdown days. All right, when we come back, you're going to hear from Mike Vrabel talking about his experience here, what it's going to mean to him to have his jersey retired at his high school alma mater, grown up eating dog bones, all of it. It's all coming your way next year when Cleveland Browns Daily returns from the Greenbrier as Browns training camp day 5 is just about officially underway. All right, we are back, and you can hear it. The Browns on the field, stretching underway here. Training camp day number 5 at the Greenbrier. Nathan Zagura, Jim Donovan, but right now we're going back to the podium, baby, and you're going to hear from Browns consultant Mike Vrabel.
You're down.
Good.
What's this experience been like? We see you everywhere on the field. Sometimes we're running with Jameis, sometimes we're blocking with David. Some running scout team linebackers. What's this experience been like for the past couple months?
Well, it's been amazing to be able to get back on the field and coach and try to help where I can, and most importantly learn. Be a part of a great staff with some really great veteran coaches, with some really great young and up and coming coaches. So wherever I can help, I'm more than willing to try to do that.
When Andrew and Kevin kind of reached out to you about this opportunity, Andrew was saying that he didn't think that you would even be up for it. I'm sure you had other opportunities. Maybe you could have taken your off time with your family. What felt right about this opportunity?
Well, I think that one, have a lot of respect for this organization, what Jimmy and Dee have done. I have a ton of respect for Andrew and Kevin and what they've been able to do in a short amount of time. And I trust them. I trust them that they would do right by me, and that they would help me, and that the position and the fit would be beneficial to everybody.
Mike, you've been very hands-on with tight ends all off season and here. Why that position group?
Well, I think that's my role. That's what has been asked of me from the head coach, from Kevin. He felt like that would be the best place to be. And so tried to absolutely embrace that and get to know those players on a personal level and then a professional level, and help Tommy and Nemo where I can.
And special teams also?
Well, I think that's an easy transition for me. That's something that I've always been a part of, and I have history with Bubba. We were teammates, and what he's been able to do, transitioning from a player to a coach, to be able to help him and Bravo where I can. I've played some of those positions, helped coach some of those positions, so that's been something that's been pretty easy.
Your races with Jameis have been a big highlight in the hip-hop game, so tell us how those got started and how are they
I think the quarterbacks, to their credit, they're not trying to waste any time or waste any reps, and so we do the routes on air, and after the last ball's thrown, they started taking off in off season, and I thought, well, it probably wouldn't be a bad idea to get these old bones moving, and then so now we just try to have a little bit of fun with it, and certainly those guys are trying to get their work in and focus on the timing with the receivers, but then also they're not wasting a rep, and they're taking advantage of getting their conditioning in, and also getting back down to the other side to where we can get going again.
But what have you learned about Tommy just as you've gotten to know him and working with that tight end group?
I've always kind of known of Tommy. I've never worked together. A lot of respect for really what he's been able to provide from an overall offensive perspective. I think quarterbacks have a unique way of doing that and seeing things from protection and from the route concepts to the run game. Quarterbacks have always had a great grasp of that, and he's carried that through as a tight end coach, which is always critical. Tight ends are involved in both of those phases, really all three of the phases in the run blocking, and sometimes we even are in protection in some different pass concepts, and then what we're doing in the passing game. So that's been helpful for me to kind of learn the system well enough to be able to explain or answer something, and Nemo has been able to do the same thing, being here with the Browns for a few years.
Mike, what was your timeline from January on, thinking maybe you'd get another job, or wondering what was actually going to be next?
Well, certainly wanted to take every opportunity and talk to everybody that called, and had some great interviews, met with some great organizations. They decided to go in a different direction, which happens sometimes. And then was able to hear from Andrew and Kevin and keep those conversations going. Met at the combine and visited and talked and got to know their staff. There's a lot of great people here. They've hired great people, and they empower them to do their job. They give them ownership from a personnel perspective, from an analytics perspective, from a player development perspective, and then, ultimately a coaching perspective.
Is the ending in Seattle, Tennessee surprising to you?
Oh, nothing surprises me. This is my 25th NFL training camp. So I would say that nothing surprises me in the National Football League. That's part of the job. I think it's disappointing. I think you're disappointed, that you couldn't, do the job the way that they wanted it or they envisioned it. But again, this is the opportunity that I think is best for me right now to be able to go through, draft meetings, personnel meetings with Andrew and his staff and see how that all got navigated and how they may do things. And there's 32 flavors in this league, and everybody does it a little differently. So it's been fun to be a part of this and try to help where I can, and most especially learn.
How do you find yourself contributing in those pre-draft meetings?
Well, just where you get, they give you a list of players. You try to evaluate them. You try to figure out what they can do, figure out what they do best, figure out what their areas of focus are. Write up a report, and then when asked about them in the meeting, try to give a concise answer to how you see the player, how they could fit, what roles they could fill, what positions they may be able to play, and if they don't call on you, then you just go on to the next player. And so that's pretty much how those draft meetings went for me. It was a select group of guys that Andrew and his staff gave me to evaluate, and I try to do the best job that I could at that.
Mike, just how much of a Browns fan you were growing up? Did you ever eat a dog bone?
Absolutely ate dog bones. I don't think you were a Browns fan in middle school in Northeast Ohio if you didn't try to get down a couple of those, because they were necklaces, right? They make the dog bones into necklaces, and then you just kind of, go down and grab one every once in a while. But it's a long time, and you go in different directions. But I certainly grew up a Browns fan. Went to games and loved a lot of those former players that made this tradition great. And you recognize how huge the fan base is in this area, and how they embrace football, and not only professional football but high school football in this area, and college football. And so it's certainly a football town.
Mike, how much have you been able to kind of recharge yourself? Because getting back to just coaching, watching you out there, it seems like the energy and everything. Have you sort of recharged, and more importantly, has it allowed you to go back to your roots a little bit?
Well, I think you always, that's the essence of coaching is trying to make a connection with the players, to teach them and develop them, make them better than what they are when you begin working with them. I always love that. Something that I always try to do. But then sometimes as you work your way towards a head coach, some of those opportunities may diminish. But it's been good for me. It's been what I love to do. I love trying to help players and help people improve, and also trying to learn myself along the way.
Role carved out for game day yet?
There won't be a role on game day. That's something that we had talked about prior to doing this, which it is the right fit for everybody. And so I'm going to try to do anything that they ask me to do, and be available to help throughout the week, and and then move ahead to the next opponent. And so that will all kind of happen organically, but that's where I see it, being right now, just based off my conversations with Kevin and it. Sure, yeah, there'll be games that I'll be at and support, as a fan, and have a vested interest in our players playing well, and then us winning.
Like you spoke about having those great interviews that may have gone a different direction. Is the goal, to get back to that head coaching role?
Sure, at the right time. I think that there's a time and place for that. It's not going to be anytime soon. So I think that things that I'll ultimately learn here may help me the next time that I get an opportunity to have one of those interviews. But this is where I'm focused on, and focused on doing that and learning here and helping. And then, if those opportunities present themselves after the season, then I'll absolutely try to do that.
Mike, this new kickoff play that they've put in, how much fun have you had with Bubba? Just trying to come out and not only learn what the rules are, but coming up with various schemes that you can.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it is just there's can be some scheme, and really we're just focused on fundamentals right now and how critical that is, the technique and the fundamentals that's required in those types of plays. That one of the hardest skills before they changed the rule was kickoff return block. You're trying to back up. You have a skilled player or a fast athlete that's coming at you from a distance, and so it's a three-way go, and those were tough blocks. And so we're trying to coach those techniques and fundamentals. And I know that we believe that that's what separates good players. Two equally talented players, effort and technique sometimes can make the difference between that matchup.
Mike, what do you think about your
Chris and Zach and then Mary Kate?
Where's Chris? Hi, Chris.
Separate of this, I know Walsh Jesuits retiring your jersey. What does that mean to you to get that honor from your school?
Well, I think that's where the foundation was. Jerry Reardon was and is, a good mentor for me, my high school football coach, who's still, a part of that school. But I think that's where the foundation is laid in that education there, the community at Walsh and everything that it was provided me. And as I went on into Ohio State and ultimately the NFL. So excited to be back in this area that's going to allow for me to be around a little bit more often and enjoy some of those things at the school.
That's the exact question I was going to ask.
Is this experience, you just look like you're having so much fun out there. It sort of looks like innocent, just football fun. Is this experience maybe in some ways without all the pressure and all the extraneous stuff that goes with football? Put a little bit of the fun back in?
I think it's a good reminder. I think it's always a good reminder as you reflect on, ultimately what this is. And it's a game, and I get that it's a business and it's a competitive business. But not losing sight of that, and not losing sight of being able to enjoy it along the way. You can work hard and have a good time at the same time. I think that's something that's always important to remember.
And might you carry that over into your next job, just this sort of sense of fun that you...
Well, probably going in, I think you will, but then sometimes things change, so I have to remember that when things change. Thank you, guys.
All right, that was Browns coaching and personnel assistant Mike Vrabel from the podium, presented by Vivid Seats, official fan experience partner of the Cleveland Browns. So much more to come from the Greenbrier. Nathan Zgura and the voice, Jim Donovan. Final thoughts coming up on Cleveland Browns Daily. All right, Jim. Practice about to get underway. What do you want to see today?
I want to say one thing about Mike Vrabel, all right?
Sure.
Mike Vrabel will be a different coach the next time around. He's going to pick up something and become a different coach. They all do. When they leave for a year or two, they come back and a light goes on and they become different.
Yeah, I think he's already been very good.
Maybe a better coach.
He's going to understand more about the personnel side, and I think that'll be very, very valuable to him. Browns practice about to get underway here. They're going through individual drills now. They are in shells today. Tomorrow will be a walkthrough and team meetings and some team bonding. Thursday, that'll be the big day in the pad. Speaking of tomorrow, Bo Bishop returning to Cleveland Browns Daily. Tomorrow we'll also hear our exclusive interview with Jordan Hicks and so much more. You'll get some coverage from West Virginia and some coverage from Cleveland. All coming your way tomorrow here, training camp day number 6 for your Cleveland Browns. But we'll have a full recap as well of the practice for you that's about to take place here today. The next level is next. Thanks for listening to Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Bally Bet.